well, I don't have an improv background, but hey, Hirsch, I can roll with the punches. Can you?
Yes, I can, Nancy. I just did a podcast where I was talking about the yes and rule of improv and the yes brand company name, and I was throwing all kinds of questions that I had never expected, and they took me up on that offer, and I feel I acquitted myself well. So welcome to our sales and messaging tips and tricks and pointers, and it's Friday, TGIF. I think it's been a good and productive week, which I'm grateful for, but it's been a long week, and so
quickly. So yours
yeah.
are long, huh?
Yes. And so we have a little correction to make. We had our topic today is follow-up, and we're specifically going to talk about how to follow up with different personality types, which we didn't get into last week, but there was a little glitch on the title. So the title says ROI.
But you will get a return on your investment when you follow up. So
that's right.
Let's dig into following up and getting a return on your investment.
That's right.
So as you know, Hirsch, I always start by understanding the fact that there are 4 major personality styles, what I call buyers. And these buyers have a particular number of touch points that they need before they can make up their mind on average. It's 2, 4, 6, and 8. Our number 2 buyer really makes up their mind the very first time you talk with them. It's rare that you have a second chance. So I don't really think of follow-up so much with your number 2 buyer. If there's any follow-up, it comes during that initial conversation.
Interesting, yeah.
It's the number 4s, 6s, and 8s that we have to be conscious about, because they definitely need follow-up. And again, just to quote some statistics from Chet Holmes, and many people are familiar with it, at any given time, only 3% of the population genuinely is looking for a solution to a problem. And hence, you're there and they're wanting to buy. That means that 97% of the people have to be nurtured over time.
Wow. I don't think I knew that statistic. 97% of people need to be nurtured over time. Mm-hmm. And the other thing was, when you think about the number 2, we know that expression, you only get one chance to make a first impression. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, that probably is speaking directly to the number 2 audience, if you're addressing that number 2 audience. But tell us about some of the other personality types that respond to repeated follow-ups.
So our number 4 person is actually a fairly quick decision maker. They can make up their mind in 2 or 3 contacts, but I call them number 4 because of the fact that they need a 4th touch point after they've said yes. This is the person, Hirsch, who gets buyer's remorse. They get cold feet, they reflect, they go back and they wonder, was this really a genuine relationship or more of a transaction? And because they fear, and maybe it's happened to them in the past, that there's been a lot of transactional relationships, they have buyer's remorse. And hence they're likely to ruminate whether or not they want to go forward. And in many cases, they dislike conflict. Hence, they no-show. They just fail to show up, or they return something if it's a physical item that they purchased without having to, talk about it or explain it. They just want to depart.
Yeah. There's that's an interesting phenomenon as well. The kind of ghosting or falling off the face of the earth phenomenon. What because this does pertain to follow-ups.
Oh, hugely. Because most of us are hesitant to follow up, and if that person is ghosting us, and there's no response, then we get even more hesitant about following up and feel like I am intruding, I'm being offensive, I'm obnoxious, and so forth.
Yeah. So which type is that um, who might be a person, let's say, where we follow up, we we do it in a kind of a patient and responsible manner, but they just don't respond. So it doesn't matter if we text, call, send an email, they just don't respond.
So again, that number 4 doesn't like conflict, so they're not going to tell you directly, I've changed my mind. So they're likely not to respond. But the other style that's likely not to respond big time is the number 8. Now, the number 8 style is that person who is very thoughtful and does research and has to get information and data, scientific evidence before they are comfortable in making a decision. And so while they're in that process of gathering information, thinking about it, asking questions, learning, they don't want to be disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
Any disturbance, Hirsch, almost makes them have to start from the beginning. You've just given me more information. Well, now in order to fit it into my schema, I have to go back, and they don't want to go back. So they always want to progress. And so there is they don't want the information. It's an intrusion. It's a disruption to their thinking process. And a little bit of lacking maybe in a sense of social manners. If I don't have anything to say, why should I respond? I mean, it's illogical. Yeah. And the number 8 is a very logical person. They're a very thoughtful, logical individual. Hence, why, if I don't have anything to tell you and why do I have to respond? So I'll give you an example. There is a particular person who is a very strong 8. I really believe she could benefit from my services. She continues to be a lurker, watches what I do, every now and again. I know she's there. Why? The other day, I posted about an award that I received from the Boston Businesswomen. Sure enough, she commented. And just when I thought this woman is out of my life and she's nowhere to be seen, no, she comes forward. And what can I tell you? It's such a strong 8 behavior that when I send her a response, there's no comment back. But when she feels like it, she will respond.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's something interesting that I've noticed where people are also sometimes embarrassed. They're embarrassed that they have to give you a no. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's that they don't have the courage to take that leap, but they feel they're kind of embarrassed that they don't.
See, that's number 4. The number 4 is full of feelings. And embarrassment is clearly a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And so, so is remorse. So is, they don't like conflict. So that's coming from that number 4 style.
Yeah. And I think that, with all these personalities, this was another reason why we wanted to have this topic today. With all these personalities, how do you, even if you use a likability and you're learning about it, how do you manage so many personalities?
Well, there's several answers to that question. The first is attract the right personalities rather than all the personalities. You see, almost every one of us really has a sweet spot for a particular ideal prospect. And yes, as we message to people, and you're the guru when it comes to messaging. We may pick up others, right? There's something that we said, the way we said it, and they resonate with it, etc. But they're not necessarily our ideal. But they have enough of that quality that they responded to the message. So that's the first point, Hirsch, is that you want to be clear who you're targeting and create and craft your message to reach that person as much as possible. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that we're living in a time where people are constantly on a daily basis influenced by their environment. So in a way, the news cycle, interaction on social media, like you say, the woman who kind of lurks and sees you, and comments. And congratulations, by the way, on your Boston Women honor. That very well deserved.
Thank you.
So, we live in a state of constant flux and constant information and constant reaction. So I think that we have to take a step back sometimes, take a deep breath, and recognize that even with the various personalities we're dealing with, the various ways in which people like to be approached, and the many touch points or few touch points that they may be most comfortable with, that we really need to also add on top of that a little bit of extra patience, a little bit of extra also self-recognition, honoring the fact that it's not us, it's not necessarily a reflection on us. We're doing well, we're working hard, we're honoring our contribution, but at the same time, a little extra breathing room than might ordinarily be necessary.
So we haven't really touched on the number 6 at all. And this is definitely a person that needs follow-up, and they need a very specific kind of follow-up. This is the person that needs stories, testimonials, references, recommendations. They need to have a sense of social proof and a sense that the program is tried and true, whatever you're offering. It's very important for them to feel safe and secure. They definitely need follow-up, but they need it in a more formal, structured way than the other types. And that's because they are following a process, step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. And so for you to send them, for example, a text message would be rude because you are out of process and you're demanding attention in the moment. This is not that kind of person. So instead, you want to schedule time and have an appointment that we're going to follow up in a week. And here's the key for follow-up that we really haven't talked on much, but I just want to make sure I sneak it in before we conclude. And that is asking for permission. When you have any sales conversation at all, you want to close the conversation with asking for permission to stay in touch and follow up. Too many people neglect that, Hirsch. And so then the follow-up feels like I am annoying them. I'm out of sequence, I'm out of place, and I'm being offensive. And you can avoid all that by asking for permission. So every time you speak with someone, yes, you should be advancing the relationship and continuing to develop it, and always ask for permission to follow up. Even if the follow-up is next quarter, in 3 months, or next year, you still want that permission so that when the year rolls around, you can say, as we agreed, I'm checking in again, and how are things with you?
Yeah. I do feel that that there are answers for everybody, and those answers aren't always the ones we would like. And so, regardless of type, there's going to be an outcome one way or another. We don't know whether it's going to be the outcome we wanted, but I think we do our best, you know, and we have to keep doing that.
All right. Well, we've come to a close here, and sorry for the confusion to our audience, but I hope you got benefit from our discussion here about follow-up. This is Dr. Nancy Zayer, the Sales Whisperer.
And Hirsch Ratboon, Holistic Brand Therapist, wishing you a wonderful weekend.
To your sales success.